Tell our audience a little bit about your background. And I guess the second part of that question, why do you want to serve in Congress?
I was a corporate communications gal, representing all sorts of big brands and big corporations. And then I had a little bit of a change of scenery where I took the position of communications director with the Nebraska Loves Public Schools campaign.
Yeah.
If you remember seeing those I Heart Public Schools t-shirts all over
Yeah.
town, that was us. And we would go around the state telling stories about cool things happening at public schools all around the state. And that was really my intro to politics because it gave me an appreciation for how awesome our public schools are and the incredible things that are happening at public schools around the state, but also really clearly showed the gaps that our public schools are trying to solve for. And that led me to exploring who the gap fillers were. And I started, working with a lot of different nonprofits and organizations in town that were trying to fill those gaps one way or another. Then Donald Trump was elected to public office the first time. And perhaps you remember 2016 and how we all felt that day thinking, oh my God, what has happened? I was going to every rally and I was, signing petitions and I was writing letters to my elected officials and just feeling like I was screaming into the void and knew that that wasn't going to be sustainable. So I founded an organization called Women Who Run Nebraska.
Love the name, by the way.
Love the name. And, we got a lot of runners in the early days, people who would join because they thought it was a running club. But what it really was is an organization that recruits and trains and supports and builds a community around women who wanted to run for office across the state. And that is how I sort of got my start in Nebraska politics. And for the last 8 years, I have been helping recruit and train and support, at this point, hundreds of women all up and down the ballot, all over the state. And through that organization, have done some work on the policy side, trying to change state policies to make it easier for people to be able to run for office in the first place. I got to work on lots of different ballot measures and travel the whole state talking to voters about issues that were important to them, their public schools and reproductive health care and paid sick leave. And over the years, I have knocked on literally thousands of doors. People who I agree with on a lot of issues and people who are on the opposite side of a lot of issues from me. And what that has taught me is that most Nebraskans are kind of in the center. We actually have a lot more in common than we don't. And part of that is what motivated me to run for this seat. So back in December, my friend Tony Vargas met me for coffee and he said, hey, I think you might want to give this a run. And my initial response was, okay, that is nuts. Like, absolutely not. That sounds crazy. And then we talked about it for a long time. And I talked about it with my family and I talked about it with folks in the community. And I came to the realization that I think there's a space for the voice of kind of your average working mom who's savvy enough about politics, but who's not a politician and who's just somebody who's fired up. I'm angry and I'm sad and I'm scared for our country. And I care deeply about this state and these people. And I just want to show up. I just want the chance to give back to this state what this state has given to me. What an honor it would be to represent District 2 in Congress.